So when you're sick of the palsy, that means that you cannot walk. You're paralyzed. Whether or not this man was paralyzed completely, like even his arms and his hands, we don't know. But we do know that he had been stuck on his bed, very, very sick. Whether it had been years and years and years, or maybe a shorter time, we're not sure. Probably it had been a while that he had been suffering. And his friends, when they heard that Jesus was there in Capernaum, oh, that made them so excited. We don't know exactly how this happened, but picture in your mind maybe how this went, that perhaps they, as soon as they heard Jesus was in Capernaum, they got together and said, our friend, he needs to go and see Jesus. They ran to him maybe. Maybe they said, you've got to come with us. Jesus of Nazareth is here, the one who heals lepers, who casts out demons. Surely he can help you. And they gathered him up in his bed, this part we do know, and they took him to go and find where Jesus was. They were probably so excited, they were probably running through the streets as much as they could, each one with a corner of his blanket carrying him to Jesus. And can you imagine what he was thinking? Maybe he was so excited, or maybe he was trying not to be too excited just in case it didn't work out. Who knows? But there they were, rushing through Capernaum to go and to find where Jesus was. Now remember, as I said, that when Jesus would go into towns, a ton of people would come to listen to him and to be healed. So Jesus had gone into a house, and there were a lot of people who came to hear Jesus in this house. There were so many people, they didn't even all fit inside the house. They were outside, kind of trying to catch a glimpse of him, trying to get in. And so when the four friends arrived, perhaps they tried to say, excuse me, our friend is sick. We just want to get to Jesus so he can heal him. Can you let us through? Excuse me, excuse me. But there was no way to get through. Nobody would move. The crowd was so packed close together inside the house, they probably couldn't move even if they wanted to. People would have to come outside, and nobody was going to do that. But these friends, they were smart, and they wanted the best for their friend. So they weren't going to just stop there. These friends saw that there were stairs up to the roof of the house, which was very common because roofs back then would have been flat so that people could go up there, and they, especially in the evening when the sun started to go down, it was one of the coolest places to be. So they would go up there and relax. So it was very common to have stairs leading to the roof. And so these friends, they got an idea. They said, oh, let's take him up to the roof. So they went up those stairs to the roof, and what did they do when they got there? When they got to the roof was made up of like tiles that would have been placed down, mud, a little bit of wood, and that's it. So they kneeled down and they started to tear open those tiles. They took off one little hole. Probably some dirt fell in, some more light into the house. Can you imagine the people in the house? What's going on? Then took off another one, and another one, and another one, until they had enough space, enough room, that they could lower their friend down through the roof to Jesus. Imagine being inside that house with Jesus, and all of a sudden, all the tiles are being lifted off, there's all this light pouring in through the roof, and now a man being lowered on a blanket? What is going on? Well, Jesus, he knew exactly what was happening, and he waited patiently. And so these four friends, who are very determined to get their friend to Jesus, lowered him down to where Jesus was. Jesus looked at the man, and he knew everything that was going on. He knew everything that was in this man's heart. And so he looked at him and he said, "Son, thy sins be forgiven me." Wow. Even more than being healed from the palsy, Jesus knew that he had sins that needed to be forgiven, as we all do. What's more important, having your sins forgiven or feeling better physically? Having your sins forgiven, right? That's very, very important. That's more important than anything else. And I'm sure that this man felt joy when he heard that his sins were forgiven. He didn't have to feel guilty about all the bad things he'd ever done in his life. Well, there were some people who were not very happy when they heard Jesus say that. Remember, the religious leaders of the day, they didn't like everything that was going on with Jesus. They were jealous of how popular he was, jealous that people listened to him instead of listening to them. They didn't like that he claimed to be God because that meant that they didn't need them. They didn't need the Pharisees anymore. And so when they heard that, they thought within themselves, he's being blasphemous. Only God can forgive sins, and this man can't possibly be God. Now, they didn't say this out loud. They just thought this. But Jesus, he knows everything. So he knew that that's what they were thinking. He knew that that was what was in their hearts. And so he turned to them and he said, "Why do you think such evil things in your hearts? Which one is easier? For me to say, your sins are forgiven, or to say, arise, get up and walk, you are healed?" Well, now, it's easier to just say your sins are forgiven because you can say that and, nothing actually has to happen visibly. No, you don't see a change. But to actually forgive sins, that's just as difficult as telling someone who can't walk that all of a sudden they can walk. So those are both things that it is impossible for a human being to do. Only God can do that. And so Jesus said, I'm going to show you that I have this power, that I, the Son of Man, have the power, the authority from God to forgive sins. And so he turned to the man there on the mat and he said, arise, get up, and walk. What do you think happened? He got up. He stood up, he rolled up his mat, and he was healed. And so he was able to leave rejoicing, praising God that he had been healed and his sins were forgiven him. I'm sure he met up with his friends outside. Thank you for bringing me to Jesus. He forgave my sins. I am healed. Thank you so much. And he went on his way with his friends, so happy that day. And the Pharisees and everyone there got a demonstration that Jesus was indeed God. He had forgiven sins, and he had the authority to do that, and he showed it by causing this man who was sick to be able to walk again. Excuse me. So, think about this for just a minute. Are you the kind of friends that this man had? Would you be willing to do anything for your friend? When Jesus healed this man, it says in the Bible that he healed him seeing the faith of this man's friends. He saw that this man's friends were willing to tear up a roof to get him down to Jesus. They believed in Jesus. And because of that, he healed this man. Do you have that kind of faith in God and that kind of friendship with other people? Then, if you do have that kind of friendship, do you have friends who are like that? Friends who treat you kindly? Do you go back and you thank them for their friendship and for being those good friends to you? It's good to have friends that are going to help you to get closer to Jesus, just like these friends did. Make sure you surround yourself with people who help you to have a better relationship with Jesus. Not friends who don't want you to talk about God, who don't want you to do things that are good, that God would be pleased with, who want you to do things that you know are disobedient to God. Have good friends that will bring you closer to God. All right, that is all for our lesson today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you later.